Okay, so if we want to make another part, right? We're in this older previous part, so let's make another one. So I'm gonna click over here, new design. You can see if I just click the plus, it will automatically open a new design, and my document settings should still be saved on their millimeters. So once again, we're gonna start working with the weird shape part, right? So the one that looks kind of, to me, it looks like a chameleon. So I'm gonna call it that. So I'm going to make sure I'm selecting the bottom face, the bottom plane, right? And I know this one looks kind of weird. You can have the drawings over there, probably see it on screen, but you have it on Blackboard, so just follow along. So this one, we're gonna be using the line. So we're gonna be using that line command. So in this case, the best thing to do is to just start with a rough sketch. Doesn't have to be exact, just follow along. And notice how there's this uh little pop-up that's saying that's 90 degrees. We want that so that it's all of our lines are straight. If you just deviate yourself, you can see how the angle changes. So make sure to keep the 90. I mean, you don't have to, but it will help you out, when doing the constraints. So uh want to do like a rough estimate like this of what the part would look like? So like 3 steps, one more, something like this, just like an angle, and then something going down, something like this, um, it's all the way down, like this, like this, like this, and close it over the shape. So only in one drawing I can do all of it. That way I don't have to do multiple drawings. So this is not how it's supposed to look like, right? It's just a rough sketch, but notice how we have some couple T's over here. Those are constraints. Those are basically just showing you that those corners are perpendicular, right? That's a sign for perpendicular. So it's telling you that these two lines are perpendicular. So everything is basically 90 degrees. Notice how there's no constraint like that over here because this line is of course not perpendicular. And while our design is fully blue, it means that it is not fully constrained, right? So it means that we can move it. So if I select any point, you can see I can move it around. So any point that I get, can make it large, big, doesn't matter. Uh, we can rearrange some of this stuff. Um, so you can see there's only one line that's black because this line is fully defined to be, perpendicular and, straight. So let's add a couple constraints, and you can find our constraints over here. So we have uh, over here have the constraint, the horizontal, perpendicular, tangent, and so on, equals, and collinear, and so on. So we're gonna use some of this, but just know that these are helping us so that we can limit or constrain some of the lines in the drawing. Also, if your line says not, straight, you probably gotta see like um, angle and so on. But let's work with some of the constraints first before we start doing the dimensions, because otherwise things are gonna start moving. So we know that these two lines have to be in the same line, right? Like they have to be, look how I move this one and it's still working. So let's say this happens. Well, I know that this line and this point have to be, flat. So there we go. We click here, horizontal, vertical, and that happens. I press escape to remove that one. So we know once again that this line and this line, they have to be in the same, in the same line, or in the same, or an orientation. They're in the same orientation, but on the same, uh, both passing through the same point, just like this red line in the bottom as reference. So I'm gonna click this one collinear and click here and here, and that way now that line it's moved. Same thing with this one and this one. Have to be collinear, right? They always have the same length. I mean, not same length, but they're basically not parallel, right? But they are on the same. They're collinear. That's what it means. They're both going to the same point. What other conditions do we have? What thing in regards to those? I think that's it, because I think everything else we can change. So if we have any constraints, we'll fix them out later. All right, so press escape. All right, so let's start with the dimensions. And notice how all the dimensions here are in reference to this point over here, or this sign over here, to the origin. So let's do that. So let's start with one of the constraints here. So from this point to this point, and this should be 100. And notice how we do this. Our shape gets kind of changed, right? Because some of the things are still open. So I can just press Control Z on that, and we'll fix that in a little bit. So I guess let's start small, and then we'll go to that one. So one of the smaller ones that we can do, for example, it's the height from this point to the bottom. You can always go to that line, but in this case, we want to do the dimensions correct. So this is 10. The height from this to this area. For this one, it's 5. And the height of this to here, for this one, it's 8. All right, we're working on some of the heights. We also know the height from this step to the floor. According to the calculations here, this is 30. The height from this step to the bottom, it will be 55. And the height of this top part to the bottom, it will be 75. So notice how we're going in increments, right? Everything's changing. And this way, our things is getting in shape. And you can see it's always in reference to either the left side and the bottom. So I'll press, escape for a little bit. I'm going to see some of the blue lines I can move. You can see this one I cannot move a lot anymore because it's in constraint with that one. So I'm going to just click here, delete, and delete that. And now notice how this one's freed up, and I'm able to move them now. So I'm able to move them freely. So let's continue doing some of those. So in this case, this dimension right here, it's for this step is 12. And then this dimension right here for this part is 30. So that's small. And then we can continue to change some things. We know on this side, I guess I forgot, we haven't done the height. So from this point, right, from this corner to the bottom of this one should be actually 38. Okay, and then what else do we have? We have that this step should be 10. We know that from this to here, right, those two blue lines, you can see it from that line to the left, this is actually 20. And from this line to the left, this should be 36. So after we fix some of those things, everything will be easier for us to start fixing the rest of the stuff, and we don't get any other problems. All right, so I'm gonna press escape, and let's move these blue lines backwards, or I guess we still need to change some of the things here. All right, I guess I can move this one here a little backwards, right? I can, this one shows some constraints here. So what other are we missing? We're missing, the 40 angle. So press D. So to do the angle, we're gonna press this line and this line. Notice how the angle appears. So this angle is 40. Right, and now we should be able to do the dimension from here to here, hopefully as 100. There we go. Now this is 100, and now everything is in set. All the lines are black except for this one and the other one, meaning that if we press escape, these two lines we're still able to switch. And actually we do have those dimensions. So from here to here, this should be 10. Now it's fixed. And there's another one over here. I think it didn't show it in the thing, but it's actually shown in the SolidWorks. This one should be 25 actually. So make sure you put that one. This is 25. And notice how the whole sketch is fully constrained. So make sure that you follow along like that. And so that way, whenever you're switching things, it doesn't move around. So it has its process, doing this in steps so that way, you know, it doesn't just move around. Now we just have to put the circle. So I'll just draw a circle, whatever. I can always just, you know, dimension it beforehand. So in this case, I know the dimension is 30. So let's go press enter. It already measures 30. And for the circle, I'm going to click the circle and I'm going to click the bottom. And this will be, well, with the height from the center of the circle. So the center of the circle to the bottom should be 45. And the circle, the center of the circle to, actually, this one is the right edge. This one will be 45. The circle is the only one that's defined, you know, from a different position. All right, so everything seems good. I can press escape and I'm still in the drawing. So everything seems correct. I'm just going to click finish sketch and press again the little home icon here. Press extrude. Notice how once again the circle is not highlighted and this will be 16 millimeters. Press enter. And this is our part that we need to do. So this is that part. So 16 millimeters. So let's just save it. You know, so I think this is figure R117. Once again, I'm naming my example because I have another one already made. And after this, you know, you can just make your drawing just like we did in the previous one. You know, we go over here. You see, it's B1, so that's the first edition. All right, so let's say, you know, that we made a mistake. Let's say we made a mistake with one of the parts. So let's say we did it instead of 20, instead of 16, this was 20. We want to change the extrusion. So you go down here to our timeline, right here to the timeline, and you see these two shapes. So if we click them, it will show you basically, actually, if I move it, you can see it goes back to the previous step. But I'm going to click over here, right click, I'm going to click edit feature. And then I can, of course, change this to any other thickness that I want. Just Control Z that. Or let's say I want to change the sketch. So right click on the sketch icon, edit sketch. And, you know, I don't have to make a new one. You know, I can just open the first one and just modify any of the dimensions as needed. And as soon anything you modify, you know, it will update automatically in the thing. So make sure you don't make a new sketch if you want to modify the first one. So that's it, you know, and if anything, you can always press save. And what do you change in this one? So it's a good practice to change the description every time you make a new change. So that way you know what version you're working with. You can always work with the previous version in case you needed something before, but in this case, I'm just going to press OK. But, you know, you should start writing what you're changing. And then it will update your C now to B2.